Your emotions are not your allies. I repeat, they're not a sacred inner voice guiding you toward truth and happiness. They're biological reactions designed for a world that no longer exists. A world where immediate emotional responses made the difference between life and death. But in today's world, your emotional reactions sabotage your success, destroy your relationships, and keep you trapped in cycles of regret and failure. Every day, you make decisions based on how you feel in the moment. A comment affects you, and you respond with something you will regret. You feel overwhelmed and abandon your goals. You worry about a presentation and avoid an opportunity that could change your career. You let anger control your words and destroy relationships that took years to build. You are being controlled by chemical reactions in your brain, and you don't even realize it. But this is what the top 1% of the most successful people know that you do not. They have learned the most powerful skill in human existence: the ability not to react, the ability to feel the emotion, acknowledge it, and then choose their response based on logic, strategy, and long-term thinking instead of the primitive impulses screaming in their heads. It is not about becoming insensitive. It is not about repressing your feelings or pretending they do not exist. It is about reclaiming control of your life by mastering the space between stimulus and response. The space where your power resides. The space where your future is determined. When you finish listening to this audiobook, you will never be the same person who began it. You will have the tools, knowledge, and mental frameworks to control your emotions instead of being controlled by them. You will learn to stay calm under pressure, make better decisions when much is at stake, and develop the unshakable inner strength that separates winners from everyone else. Before we begin, if you take personal development seriously and are ready to start controlling your emotions, if you truly want to change, subscribe to this channel. Here you'll find complete audiobooks, impactful and practical content you can apply in real life, and a completely free PDF with practical steps. It's not just about listening. Now it's about learning, applying, and moving forward, all in one place. Chapter 1: The Hidden Cost of Emotional Reactivity. Most people have no idea how much their emotional reactions cost them. They believe it is normal to get angry. They believe it is natural to lose control when things get tough. They believe strong emotions are a sign of passion and authenticity. They are completely, utterly mistaken, and this illusion is destroying their lives in ways they cannot even see. Let me paint a picture of what emotional reactivity really looks like in the real world. You're in a meeting with your boss and colleagues. Someone questions your idea in a way that seems disrespectful. Your heart races, your face heats up. The voice in your head starts screaming about how unfair this is, how they do not understand your vision, how they are trying to make you look bad. Before you know it, you are defending yourself in a tone that makes everyone in the room uncomfortable. You just damaged your professional reputation over a 60-second emotional reaction. Or maybe you are having an argument with your partner over something relatively minor. They say something that hits a nerve. Instead of staying calm and seeking a solution, you escalate the situation. You bring up past grievances. You say things designed to hurt because you are hurting. 10 minutes later, you have turned a small disagreement into a fight that threatens the relationship and will take days to recover from, all because you could not control your initial emotional reaction. This is the harsh reality no one wants to face. Every time you react emotionally instead of responding thoughtfully, you're training your brain to be weaker. You are reinforcing neural pathways that make you more likely to lose control next time. You are literally rewiring your brain for failure, conflict, and regret. And the worst part is, you are doing it voluntarily. Science is clear. Every emotional reaction triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These chemicals flood your system, cloud your judgment, and prevent clear thinking. But here is what most people do not realize. These hormones do not simply vanish when the situation ends. They remain in your system for hours, sometimes days, affecting every decision you make, every interaction you have, every thought that crosses your mind. This means a morning emotional reaction can sabotage your entire day. That argument with your partner affects your work performance. That stressful email triggers a cascade of poor decisions throughout your week. You become trapped in a cycle of reactivity where each emotional outburst makes the next one more likely. But the cost goes beyond your daily performance. Chronic emotional reactivity literally changes the structure of your brain. Brain imaging studies show that people who regularly lose emotional control have smaller prefrontal cortices. This is the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking, planning, and impulse control. In other words, the more you react emotionally, the less able you are to think clearly and make good decisions. The financial cost of emotional reactivity is staggering. Consider every opportunity you have lost because you were too angry, too anxious, or too overwhelmed to think clearly. Every relationship you have damaged because you could not hold back your words. Every goal you abandoned because you felt discouraged and decided to quit. The cumulative effect of these losses over a lifetime is devastating. I have worked with executives who lost millions of dollars because they made decisions in anger. I have seen entrepreneurs destroy partnerships that took years to build because they could not control their emotional reactions during negotiations. I have seen brilliant people sabotage their own careers by sending emails written in frustration or delivering presentations anxious and unprepared. The cost to relationships is even more heartbreaking. Every time you lose emotional control with someone you care about, you withdraw trust from the relationship bank account. You create distance, plant seeds of resentment. Over time, these emotional reactions accumulate and destroy the relationships that matter most. Your children observe how you manage emotions and learn that this is normal. Your partner starts walking on eggshells because they never know what might trigger you. Your colleague starts seeing you as unreliable and unstable. Your reputation becomes that of someone who cannot be counted on when things get difficult. But perhaps the greatest cost of emotional reactivity is what it does to your relationship with yourself. Every time you lose control, you lose respect for yourself. You know you are capable of more. You know you could have handled the situation better, but in that moment you felt powerless against your own emotions. This creates a cycle of doubt and shame that erodes your confidence from the inside out. The good news is that this is completely under your control. Emotional reactivity is not your destiny. It is not written in your DNA. It is not an immutable part of who you are. It is a habit, and like any habit, it can be broken and replaced with something better. The question is whether you are willing to do the work to change it. Chapter 2: Why your brain is wired to sabotage you. To understand how to control your emotions, you first need to understand why your brain seems determined to make you lose control. The truth is, your emotional responses are not random or insignificant. They are the result of millions of years of evolution, designed to keep your ancestors alive in a world full of immediate physical threats. But the world has changed drastically, and your brain has not caught up. Let me introduce you to the most important part of your brain, which you have probably never heard of, the amygdala. This small almond-shaped structure deep in your brain functions as your personal alarm system. Its role is to detect threats and trigger immediate responses to keep you safe. When your ancestors encountered a saber-toothed tiger, the amygdala flooded their system with adrenaline, blocked rational thinking, and prepared them to fight or flee. This response saved lives. The problem is that your amygdala cannot distinguish between a saber-toothed tiger and an angry email from your boss. It cannot differentiate between a physical threat and a social threat. It treats criticism, rejection, shame, and conflict as if they were life or death situations. So when a colleague questions your idea in a meeting, your amygdala sounds the alarm as if a predator were attacking you. This is called amygdala hijack, and it happens more often than you think. The moment your brain perceives a threat, rational thinking shuts down. Blood flow is redirected from the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logic, planning, and impulse control, to the limbic system that controls emotional responses. You literally become less intelligent when you are emotionally activated. Here is what makes it worse. Your amygdala learns from experience, but it is terrible at learning the right lessons. Every time you have an emotional reaction to something, your amygdala stores that information as evidence that the situation was truly dangerous. This means that things that triggered you once are more likely to trigger you again. Your brain constantly expands the list of things it considers threats. That is why people who have been hurt in relationships become hypersensitive to any sign of rejection or abandonment. Their amygdala has learned that emotional pain is dangerous. It starts sounding the alarm at the slightest hint that it could happen again. That is why people who have been criticized at work become defensive over any comment, even if it is constructive and well-intentioned. The amygdala also has a negativity bias. It remembers threats better than rewards, failures better than successes, pain better than pleasure. This made sense when survival was the main concern, as forgetting a threat could lead to death, while forgetting a reward was merely unfortunate. But in today's world, this negativity bias means your brain is constantly looking for problems, dangers, and reasons to be upset. Another crucial factor is that the amygdala processes information much faster than the rational mind. It can identify a threat and trigger an emotional response in as little as 12 milliseconds. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, takes at least 500 milliseconds to process the same information. This means you react emotionally long before you have the chance to think rationally about what is really happening. That is why sometimes you get angry or anxious and then wonder why. Your emotional brain has already determined there is a threat and started preparing your body for action before your rational brain even knows what is happening. By the time you're aware of feeling anger, your heart is already racing, your muscles are tense, and stress hormones flood your system. The modern world exacerbates this problem because we are constantly exposed to low-level stressors that keep our amygdala on high alert. Social media notifications, fear-inducing news headlines, work emails demanding immediate responses, traffic jams, financial pressures, and relationship conflicts. Your brain is bombarded with signals that something might go wrong, keeping your emotional alarm system in a constant state of activation. This chronic state of alert has serious consequences for your ability to think clearly and make good decisions. When your amygdala is constantly activated, it becomes hypersensitive. Things that normally would not bother you start to feel overwhelming. Your threshold for emotional reaction decreases until even the smallest inconvenience can trigger significant emotional responses. Lack of sleep worsens this further. When you do not sleep enough or sleep poorly, your amygdala becomes 40% more reactive to negative stimuli. This means you're literally more likely to lose emotional control when tired. Stress, poor nutrition, lack of exercise, and dehydration have similar effects on your brain's ability to regulate emotions. Here is the part that will change everything for you. Understanding that your emotional reactions are automatic does not mean you are powerless against them. It means you can learn to work with your brain instead of against it. You can train your prefrontal cortex to override the function of your amygdala. You can build new neural pathways that favor emotional control instead of emotional reactivity. The key is recognizing that there is always a gap between the trigger and your response. It may be microseconds, but it exists, and in that gap lies your power. That is where you can choose to respond instead of react. That is where you can take back control of your life. Chapter 3: The 4 Levels of Emotional Mastery. Not all emotional control is the same. Most people think managing emotions is a simple switch. Either you have control or you do not. Either you are calm or you're reactive. This black and white thinking is exactly why most people never develop true emotional mastery. True emotional control exists at 4 distinct levels, and understanding these levels is crucial for developing the unshakable inner strength that separates champions from the rest. Level 1 is unconscious reactivity. This is where most people spend their entire lives. At this level, you are completely at the mercy of your emotions. You feel something and act immediately without conscious choice. Someone says something that bothers you, and you respond instantly. You feel anxious about a situation and avoid it without thinking. You get excited about an opportunity and make impulsive decisions you later regret. People at level 1 do not even realize they can choose how to respond to their emotions. They believe their feelings are facts, that their emotional reactions are justified, and that others are responsible for how they feel. They say things like, "You made me angry." "Oh, I can't help feeling this way." "Oh, I was just being honest about my emotions." They are unaware of the gap between stimulus and response. The problem with level 1 is that it makes you completely unpredictable and unreliable. People never know which version of you they will encounter. You may be calm and reasonable one day and explosive the next, depending on your mood, stress level, and what is happening in your life. This unpredictability destroys trust in relationships and prevents others from relying on you when things get tough. Level 2 is conscious reactivity. Here you are aware that you are having an emotional reaction, but choose to act anyway. You know you are angry, you know you are about to say something you will regret, but you do it anyway because you feel justified in the moment. You recognize that your emotions are controlling you, but you tell yourself this situation is different, that this time your reaction is justified. People at level 2 often justify their emotional reactions by focusing on the behavior of others. They say things like, "Yes, I lost my temper, but did you see what they did to me? Oh, I know I shouldn't have sent that email, but they deserved it." They have awareness, but no real control. They see the gap between stimulus and response, but choose not to use it. Level 2 is actually more frustrating than level 1 because you know more, yet it seems you cannot stop. You get trapped in a cycle of emotional reactions followed by guilt and regret, followed by promises to do better next time, followed by more emotional reactions. This creates a pattern of self-disappointment that erodes your confidence and self-esteem over time. Level 3 is conscious response. This is where true emotional mastery begins. At this level, you feel the emotion, acknowledge it for what it is, and consciously choose how to respond based on your values and long-term goals rather than your immediate feelings. You may feel angry, but you choose to speak calmly. You may feel anxious, but you decide to act anyway. You may feel disappointed, but you choose to focus on solutions instead of obsessing over problems. People at level 3 understand that emotions are information, not instructions. They recognize that feeling anger does not mean they must act angrily. They know that feeling anxiety does not mean they are in real danger. They have learned to create a space between what they feel and how they respond, and they use that space to make decisions that align with who they want to be rather than what they feel in the moment. This level requires practice and self-awareness. You must acquire the skill to recognize your emotional states as they arise, understand what triggers them, and have a repertoire of alternative responses ready to use. You must train yourself to pause, breathe, and think before acting. This does not happen overnight, but it is absolutely achievable with consistent effort. Level 4 is emotional alchemy. This is the highest level of emotional mastery, where you not only control your response to emotions, but transform them. Instead of simply managing anger, you turn it into motivation. Instead of simply dealing with fear, you turn it into excitement. Instead of simply handling disappointment, you transform it into curiosity about what you can learn from the experience. People at level 4 have developed such a deep understanding of their emotional patterns that they can often prevent negative emotions from arising. They have restructured their thought patterns, beliefs, and mental models in ways that naturally generate more positive emotional states. When negative emotions arise, they have the ability to quickly transform them into something more useful. This level is not about positive thinking or pretending negative emotions do not exist. It is about developing such mastery over your internal state that you can consciously choose what to feel in any situation. You become the director of your own emotional experience rather than a mere actor reading a script you did not write. The journey from level 1 to level 4 is not linear. You may be at level 3 in some areas of your life and at level 1 in others. You may handle work stress like a champion, but completely lose control when faced with family drama. The goal is not perfection, but progress. Each level represents a significant improvement in your ability to create the life you want rather than simply react to what happens to you. Most people never get past level 2 because they do not understand that emotional mastery is a skill that can be developed. They believe some people are naturally good at controlling their emotions, while others are not. This is completely false. Emotional control is like physical fitness. Some people may have better genetics, but anyone can strengthen themselves with consistent training. The question you must ask yourself is this: at what level are you operating right now? And more importantly, at what level do you want to operate? Because once you decide to upgrade your emotional operating system, everything in your life will start to change. Chapter 4. The Stop Method for Immediate Emotional Control. When you are in the middle of an emotional reaction, when your heart is racing, your mind spinning, and every instinct tells you to lash out, flee, or do something you will regret, you need a system. You need a method you can implement immediately, in real time, to regain control before permanently damaging your relationships, your reputation, or your goals. Most advice on emotional control is useless in these moments because it requires clear thinking. And clear thinking is precisely what you cannot do. When you're emotionally hijacked, your prefrontal cortex is offline. You cannot access complex strategies or recall detailed plans. You need something simple, automatic, something that works even when your rational mind is temporarily disconnected. This is where the stop method comes in. For letters representing 4 actions you can perform in sequence to interrupt an emotional reaction and regain control of yourself before making decisions you will regret. This method is based on decades of neuroscience research and has been tested in the most high-pressure situations imaginable, from emergency rooms to battlefields to boardrooms. The S stands for stop. The moment you notice an emotional reaction, you must physically stop what you are doing. If you are writing an angry email, remove your hands from the keyboard. If you are in the middle of an argument, close your mouth. If you're about to make an impulsive decision, step away from the situation. This physical action of stopping sends a signal to your brain that you are taking control. The key to making this work is developing the ability to recognize the first warning signs of emotional activation. Your body always gives you clues before your emotions completely take over. Your heart begins to beat faster, your muscles tense, your breathing becomes shallow, you feel heat rising to your face, or a knot forms in your stomach. These physical sensations are your signal to stop everything and implement the method. Most people overlook these early warning signs because they do not pay attention to their body. They are absorbed in their thoughts, focused on the external situation, completely unaware of what is happening internally until they are already in full reaction mode. Learning to tune in to your physical sensations is like installing an early warning system that gives you time to implement control strategies before it is too late. The action of stopping must be decisive and complete. You cannot stop partially. You have to disconnect completely from what you were doing. This may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you are in the middle of a conversation or a meeting. But the temporary discomfort of stopping is nothing compared to the lasting damage of saying or doing something you will later regret. Stopping means breathing, not just any breathing, but a specific type of breathing that activates the parasympathetic nervous system and begins to calm your emotional reaction. Inhale slowly through your nose, counting to 4. Hold your breath, counting to 4. and then exhale slowly through your mouth, counting to 6. This is called box breathing, and it is used by Navy SEALs, first responders, and elite athletes to remain calm under extreme pressure. The reason this breathing pattern works is that it stimulates the vagus nerve, which acts like a reset button for the nervous system. When you are emotionally activated, your sympathetic nervous system is in charge, flooding your body with stress hormones and preparing you for fight or flight. The prolonged exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for rest and recovery. This begins to counter the stress response and helps restore rational thinking. You should repeat this breathing pattern at least 3 times, but continue for as long as needed until you feel your heart rate start to slow. Do not rush this step. The goal is not just to calm down enough to function, but enough to think clearly and make good decisions. This may take 30 seconds or 5 minutes. Take the time you need. Observation is next. Now that you have stopped action and begun regulating your nervous system, you need to objectively observe what is really happening both internally and externally. What emotion do you feel? What thoughts are running through your mind? What physical sensations do you experience? What is actually happening in the external situation versus what you interpret or assume? This observation step is crucial because emotional reactions are often based on interpretations rather than facts. Someone does not respond to your text, and you interpret it as rejection or disrespect when they may simply be busy. A colleague questions your idea, and you interpret it as a personal attack when they may only be trying to improve the project. Your partner seems distant, and you interpret it as proof that they no longer love you when they may simply be stressed from work. During observation, you must separate facts from interpretations. What did the person actually say or do? What evidence do you have for the story you're telling yourself about their motivations or intentions? What other explanations could exist for their behavior? This process of objective observation helps you see the situation more clearly and often reveals that your emotional reaction was based on assumptions rather than reality. You should also observe your own internal state with curiosity rather than judgment. Do not punish yourself for having an emotional reaction. Do not tell yourself that you should not feel the way you feel. Simply observe what is happening with the same objective interest you might have while watching a nature documentary. This emotion is arising. This thought pattern is active. This physical sensation is present. Information, not evaluation. Proceed. Now that you have stopped reactive behavior, regulated your nervous system, and observed the situation objectively, you can proceed with a conscious response rather than an unconscious reaction. But this does not mean returning to action immediately. The proceed step involves making a conscious decision about how you want to respond based on your values, long-term goals, and interests rather than immediate emotional impulses. Ask yourself which response aligns best with the person you want to be and the outcome you want to achieve. If your goal is to maintain a good relationship with this person, what response would contribute to that goal? If your goal is to solve a problem, what response would be most effective? If your goal is to maintain your reputation and integrity, what response would support that goal? Sometimes the best option in the proceed step is not to respond at all, at least not immediately. You may decide you need more information before responding effectively. You may realize that you're still too emotionally activated to respond in a way that aligns with your values. You may determine that the situation does not require any response from you. Other times, the proceed step may involve having a conversation, but approaching it differently than you would have if you had reacted immediately. Instead of defending yourself, you might ask questions to better understand the other person's perspective. Instead of making accusations, you could express how you interpreted their words or actions and request clarification. The stop method becomes more effective the more you practice it. At first, you may only remember to use it after you have already reacted emotionally. This is normal and still valuable because it helps you develop awareness of your patterns. Gradually, you will start noticing earlier in the process, perhaps after you have begun reacting, but before causing serious harm. Over time, You'll be able to implement the method as soon as you notice the first warning signs of emotional activation. The goal is not to never have emotional reactions. The goal is to never allow those reactions to control your behavior in ways that go against your interests. The stop method gives you the tools to create space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your power to create the life you desire, rather than simply react to the life that happens to you. Chapter 5: Advanced Emotional Regulation Techniques. Once you have mastered the stop method and can control yourself reliably before your emotional reactions spiral out of control, you are ready for advanced techniques that distinguish true masters of emotional regulation from those with only basic impulse control. These techniques go beyond damage control and move into emotional optimization, where you not only manage your emotions, but use them as tools for peak performance and better decision-making. The first advanced technique is cognitive reframing. This is the ability to consciously change how you interpret a situation in order to modify your emotional response. Most people believe their emotions are caused by external events, but the truth is that emotions are caused by your interpretation of events. Change your interpretation and you change your emotional experience. For example, imagine you're giving a presentation and notice several people in the audience looking at their phones. Your initial interpretation might be that they are bored, your presentation is terrible, and you are failing. This interpretation triggers anxiety, shame, and doubt. But what if you reframe the situation? What if you interpret their phone use as evidence that they're so engaged in your ideas that they're taking notes or looking up related information? Suddenly, the same external situation triggers completely different emotions. The key to effective cognitive reframing is developing multiple plausible interpretations for every situation. When something occurs that triggers a negative emotional response, force yourself to think of at least 3 alternative explanations for what is happening. One more positive than your initial reaction, one more negative, and one completely neutral. This exercise is not about lying to yourself or thinking positively. It is about recognizing that your initial interpretation of events is often not the only possible or most accurate one. Your brain tends to jump to conclusions based on incomplete information, past experiences, and cognitive biases. Reframing forces you to consider other possibilities and choose the interpretation most useful for your goals and well-being. The second advanced technique is emotional labeling. This involves being extremely precise in identifying and naming your emotional states. Most people have a very limited emotional vocabulary. They know they feel good or bad, happy or sad, but cannot distinguish between frustration and disappointment, anxiety and excitement, anger and hurt. This lack of precision makes emotional regulation difficult because you cannot manage what you cannot identify clearly. It is like trying to fix a car engine when all you can describe is that it does not work well. The more specific your identification of what you feel, the more precisely you can address it. Emotional labeling works by activating the prefrontal cortex and reducing amygdala activity. By assigning a precise name to an emotion, the brain state changes so that the emotion is less overwhelming and more manageable. Research shows that people who practice emotional labeling regularly have better emotional regulation, lower stress levels, and improved decision-making ability. To develop this skill, start by expanding your emotional vocabulary. Instead of feeling bad, be specific. You feel disappointed, frustrated, overwhelmed, anxious, angry, hurt, or something entirely different. Instead of feeling good, you feel satisfied, excited, proud, grateful, happy, or energized. The more precise you are, the more control you have over your internal state. The third advanced technique is somatic regulation. This involves using your body to regulate your emotions rather than trying to control them only with your mind. Your emotional state and physical state are intimately connected through your nervous system. By consciously changing your physical state, you can directly influence your emotional state. progressive muscle relaxation is one of the most effective somatic regulation techniques. Begin at your toes and move upward to your head. Systematically tense each muscle group for 5 seconds. Then release the tension and notice the sensation of relaxation. This process helps discharge the physical energy that accumulates during emotional activation and signals your nervous system that it is safe to relax. Cold exposure is another powerful somatic regulation tool. Taking a cold shower, splashing cold water on your face, or holding ice cubes can activate the vagus nerve and quickly shift your nervous system from sympathetic activation to parasympathetic recovery. The cold stimulus forces the body to adapt, building resilience and improving your ability to manage stress and emotional intensity. Movement and exercise are also crucial for emotional regulation. When you are emotionally activated, the body is prepared for action. If you do not provide an outlet for that energy, it remains trapped in your system, maintaining the emotional state. Even a few minutes of vigorous movement can help process the energy and return the system to normal. The fourth advanced technique is timeline reframing. This involves consciously shifting your perception of time to reduce the emotional impact of current difficulties. When you are in the middle of an emotional reaction, your brain tends to catastrophize and assume that current problems will last forever or have permanent consequences. Timeline reframing works by asking how you will feel about the current situation in different periods of time. How will you feel in an hour, a day, a week, a month, or a year? This exercise helps put temporary problems in perspective and reduces their emotional weight. You can also use timeline reframing to connect with your future self. Imagine yourself 5 years from now having successfully overcome this situation and many others like it. What advice would that future version of yourself give about handling the current challenge? This perspective often reveals that the situation is less serious than it initially seemed and suggests more effective responses than emotional reactivity. The fifth advanced technique is energy management. This recognizes that your capacity for emotional regulation is not unlimited. You have a finite amount of mental energy, and regulating emotions requires a significant portion of it. If you must constantly regulate intense emotions, over time you will experience decision fatigue and lose the ability to maintain control. Energy management involves being strategic about when and where you expend your emotional regulation resources. This could mean avoiding certain people or situations when you're already stressed or tired. It could mean scheduling difficult conversations when you are mentally fresh. It could mean including recovery time in your day to restore your emotional regulation capacity. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, and stress management play a crucial role in maintaining your energy for emotional regulation. Lack of sleep, hunger, sedentary behavior, or chronic stress dramatically reduces your ability to control emotions. Taking care of your physical health is not separate from emotional mastery. It is an essential component. These advanced techniques require practice and patience to master. Do not try to implement them all at once. Choose one or two that resonate most with you and focus on developing competence with them before adding others to your repertoire. Remember, the goal is not to never feel difficult emotions, but to respond to them in ways that align with your values and support your long-term goals. With consistent practice, these techniques will become automatic responses that serve you in any situation life presents. Chapter 6: Developing Emotional Resilience for Long-Term Success. Controlling your emotions in the moment is crucial, but it is only half of the equation. The other half is developing deep, unshakable emotional resilience that makes you anti-fragile, not just strong enough to survive emotional challenges, but stronger because of them. This is what distinguishes those who manage their emotions occasionally from those who have completely transformed their relationship with difficulty, stress, and adversity. Most people approach emotional resilience backward. They wait until they are in crisis to try to develop coping skills. They wait until they feel overwhelmed to attempt stress management techniques. They wait until they are exhausted to establish stronger boundaries. It is like waiting to drown to learn how to swim. By the time you need the skills, it is too late to develop them effectively. True emotional resilience is built during periods of calm, not during storms. It develops through consistent daily practices that strengthen your emotional immune system so that when challenges arise, you are already prepared to handle them with grace and effectiveness. Like physical fitness, emotional fitness requires regular training, not just crisis intervention. The foundation of emotional resilience is what I call baseline optimization. This is the daily maintenance of your mental, emotional, and physical state that keeps you operating at maximum capacity. When your baseline is strong, you can handle much more stress and challenge before reaching your breaking point. When your baseline is weak, even minor difficulties can overwhelm your system. Sleep is the non-negotiable foundation of baseline optimization. When you are sleep deprived, your amygdala becomes hyperactive while your prefrontal cortex slows down. This means you are more prone to emotional reactions and less capable of controlling them. The research is clear. People who sleep less than 7 hours per night have drastically reduced emotional regulation capacity. But it's not just about quantity, quality matters. Your bedroom should be completely dark, cool, and quiet. No screens for at least 1 hour before bed. No caffeine after 2 p.m., a consistent sleep schedule that does not vary by more than 30 minutes, even on weekends. These are not suggestions. They are requirements if you want to maintain emotional control under pressure. Nutrition plays a fundamental role in emotional stability that most people completely ignore. Your brain runs on glucose, and when your blood sugar is unstable, so are your emotions. Skipping meals, eating processed foods, consuming too much caffeine, and drinking alcohol create biochemical conditions that make emotional regulation significantly more difficult. The solution is not complex, but it requires discipline. Eat protein with every meal to stabilize blood sugar. Consume omega-3 fatty acids to support brain health. Stay hydrated throughout the day. Avoid inflammatory foods, including most processed foods, excess sugar, and foods to which you are sensitive. Your emotional state is directly related to your nutritional state. Even if you do not realize it, physical exercise is not optional for emotional resilience. Regular exercise increases the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which literally generates new brain cells and strengthens neural connections. It also increases neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine that regulate mood and motivation. Most importantly, exercise provides controlled stress that strengthens your ability to handle uncontrolled stress. The type of exercise matters. You need both cardiovascular exercise to build stress tolerance and strength training to develop physical confidence and mental toughness. You also need movement that challenges coordination and focus, such as martial arts, dance, or sports. This strengthens the mind-body connection, essential for emotional regulation. The second pillar of emotional resilience is cognitive flexibility. This is your ability to see situations from multiple perspectives, generate creative solutions to problems, and adapt your thinking when circumstances change. People with low cognitive flexibility get stuck in rigid thought patterns that amplify emotional reactions. People with high cognitive flexibility can find opportunities in adversity and maintain emotional balance, even when things do not go as planned. One of the most powerful ways to develop cognitive flexibility is through regular exposure to different perspectives and ideas. Read books by authors who disagree with your worldview. Talk with people from different backgrounds and beliefs. Travel to places that challenge your assumptions about how life works. The goal is not to abandon your values, but to expand your mental models and increase your ability to see situations from multiple angles. Another crucial component of cognitive flexibility is developing comfort with uncertainty and ambiguity. Most emotional reactions are triggered by situations that feel uncertain or out of control. If you learn to feel comfortable without knowing exactly how things will turn out, you will be much less prone to emotional reactions when life does not go as planned. Practice making decisions with incomplete information. Set goals without knowing exactly how you will achieve them. Engage in activities with uncertain outcomes. The more comfortable you become with uncertainty, the more emotionally stable you will be when facing unknown challenges. The third pillar of emotional resilience is the search for meaning. People who have a clear sense of purpose and significance in their lives are much more resilient in the face of adversity. When you know why you do something, when you can connect your current difficulties to a larger purpose, it becomes much easier to maintain emotional control when things get tough. This does not require having a grand mission to save the world. It can be as simple as being a good parent, building a successful business, or making a positive contribution to your community. The key is that your goals and activities should be connected to something larger than immediate comfort or pleasure. Regular reflection on your values and priorities helps maintain this sense of meaning. What do you represent? What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of impact do you want to have? When you have clarity on these questions, it becomes much easier to choose long-term thinking over short-term emotional reactions. The fourth pillar of emotional resilience is social connection. Humans are social creatures, and isolation makes emotional regulation much more difficult. Having strong, supportive relationships provides both emotional resources during difficult times and accountability that helps you maintain high standards of behavior. But not all relationships contribute to emotional resilience. Relationships with people who are constantly dramatic, negative, or emotionally volatile will drain your emotional energy and make it harder to maintain control. You need relationships with people who model emotional maturity and bring out the best in you rather than triggering your worst impulses. This means being intentional about who you spend time with. Minimize contact with people who constantly create chaos and drama in their lives. Invest more time and energy in relationships with people who are growing, learning, and working to become better versions of themselves. Your emotional state is strongly influenced by the emotional state of those around you. The fifth pillar of emotional resilience is what I call strategic stress exposure. Just as your muscles need progressive overload to grow stronger, your emotional regulation system needs controlled challenges to develop greater capacity. If you only practice emotional control during easy moments, you will not have the strength to maintain it during difficult ones. This means intentionally exposing yourself to situations that are slightly outside your comfort zone on a regular basis. Take on challenging but achievable projects. Have difficult conversations you have been avoiding. Set goals that push you beyond your current abilities. The key is to choose your challenges rather than letting life choose them for you. Cold exposure, public speaking, martial arts training, endurance sports, and meditation retreats are excellent forms of strategic stress exposure. They place you in controlled situations where you must manage discomfort, uncertainty, and challenge while maintaining composure and focus. The final pillar of emotional resilience is recovery and restoration. Your emotional regulation system, like any high-performance system, requires regular maintenance and recovery. If you constantly push yourself without taking time to restore your energy, you will eventually burn out and lose the ability to maintain emotional control. This means incorporating regular recovery practices into your daily and weekly routine. Daily meditation or mindfulness practice. Weekly time in nature without technology. Monthly periods of total disconnection from work and social media. Annual retreats or vacations that allow for deep rest and reflection. Recovery is not a luxury or a reward for hard work. It is a requirement for sustained high performance. Without proper recovery, your emotional regulation capacity will gradually decline, and you will find yourself becoming more reactive, more irritable, and less capable of handling life's normal challenges. Developing emotional resilience is a long-term project that requires patience and consistency. You cannot develop it overnight, but you also cannot afford to wait until you need it to start building it. The time to strengthen your emotional foundation is now, while you are relatively calm and stable. Because when life's storms hit, and they will, you want to be the person who remains unshakable while others crumble around you. Chapter 7. The Neuroscience of Emotional Transformation. Everything I have taught you so far becomes infinitely more powerful when you understand what is actually happening in your brain as you practice emotional control. This is not just psychology or ancient wisdom, although both have their place. It is pure science. Measurable, repeatable, and documented changes in brain structure and function that occur through consistent practice of emotional mastery techniques. Understanding the neuroscience behind emotional transformation has two crucial purposes. First, it gives you confidence that the work you're doing truly produces real and lasting change, not just temporary improvements. Second, it helps you optimize your practice by understanding which specific actions generate the most significant neurological changes. Let's start with neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. For most of human history, scientists believed adult brains were fixed and immutable. If you had certain emotional patterns or tendencies, you kept them for life. We now know this is completely false. Your brain constantly reconfigures based on your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Every time you choose a thoughtful response instead of an emotional reaction, you strengthen neural pathways associated with self-control and weaken those associated with reactivity. Every time you practice the stop method, you are literally building new brain circuits that make emotional control easier and more automatic. The key is that your brain does not distinguish between what you imagine and what you actually experience. By mentally practicing staying calm under pressure, your brain creates the same neural connections as if you were actually doing it. This means you can accelerate your emotional development by regularly visualizing yourself handling challenging situations with grace and composure. The most significant neuroplastic changes occur in the prefrontal cortex, the brain's executive center. This region is responsible for planning, decision-making, impulse control, and emotional regulation. People who regularly practice emotional control techniques show greater gray matter density in this area, meaning more brain tissue dedicated to rational thinking and self-control. Meanwhile, the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, decreases in size in those who practice emotional regulation. This does not mean you become insensitive. It means your threat detection system becomes more precise and less prone to false alarms. You develop the ability to distinguish between real threats that require immediate action and perceived threats that can be managed with a thoughtful response. The anterior cingulate cortex is another critical area that changes with emotional training. This region is responsible for attention regulation and conflict monitoring. It helps you notice when you're having an emotional reaction and redirects your focus toward more constructive responses. People with a stronger anterior cingulate cortex are better able to detect themselves before emotional reactions spiral out of control. The insula, which processes bodily sensations and connects them to emotional experiences, also develops more in people who practice emotional awareness. This heightened body awareness allows you to detect the first warning signs of emotional activation before they become full-blown reactions. You become more sensitive to changes in heart rate, muscle tension, breathing patterns, and other physical indicators of emotional state. One of the most fascinating discoveries in neuroscience is that practicing emotional regulation actually changes the brain's default mode network. This is the network of brain regions active when you're not focused on a specific task. It is often called the monkey mind because it tends to jump from one thought to another aimlessly. In people who do not practice emotional control, the default mode network often generates repetitive, often negative thought patterns. Worrying, ruminating, self-criticism, and anxiety become the brain's default state. But in those who regularly practice emotional regulation techniques, the default mode network becomes quieter and more peaceful. Their baseline state becomes calm and focused rather than agitated and reactive. The brain's neurotransmitter systems also undergo significant changes with emotional training. Serotonin, which regulates mood and social behavior, increases with regular practice of emotional control techniques. Dopamine, which regulates motivation and reward, becomes more stable and less dependent on external validation. GABA, the brain's main inhibitory neurotransmitter, increases, helping reduce anxiety and promote feelings of calm. Perhaps most importantly, the stress hormone cortisol is much better regulated in people who practice emotional control. Chronically elevated cortisol destroys neurons, impairs memory, weakens the immune system, and triggers a cascade of health problems. People who control their emotional responses show lower baseline cortisol levels and faster recovery after stressful events. Mirror neurons add another fascinating dimension to emotional neuroscience. These neurons activate both when performing an action and when observing someone else performing it. This means that spending time with people who have good emotional control trains your brain for better emotional control. Conversely, spending time with emotionally reactive people trains the brain to be more reactive. That is why the social environment you choose has such a profound impact on your emotional development. You are influenced not only by the behavior of others. Your brain mirrors their neural patterns through mirror neuron activity. Choose your social environment carefully because it is shaping your brain, whether you realize it or not. Research on meditation and mindfulness provides some of the clearest evidence of how emotional practices alter brain structure. Studies using brain imaging technology show that just 8 weeks of regular meditation practice generate measurable changes in brain structure. The hippocampus, associated with learning and memory, increases in size. The amygdala decreases its reactivity. The prefrontal cortex becomes more active and better connected with other brain regions. But you do not need to become a meditation master to benefit from these neuroplastic changes. Any consistent practice that involves observing thoughts and emotions without immediately reacting will produce similar brain changes. The key factors are consistency, attention, and non-reactive awareness. Breathing exercises produce particularly rapid neurological changes because the vagus nerve, which connects the brain to the body's relaxation response, can be directly influenced through conscious breathing patterns. The box breathing technique I taught earlier literally activates the parasympathetic nervous system in seconds, creating immediate neurological changes that promote calm and clear thinking. Progressive muscle relaxation works by strengthening the connection between the prefrontal cortex and the motor cortex. When you consciously tense and relax muscle groups, you're practicing voluntary control over your body's stress response system. This builds neural pathways that facilitate conscious relaxation when you are emotionally activated. The cognitive reframing techniques I mentioned earlier work by strengthening the connections between your prefrontal cortex and your limbic system. Each time you consciously choose a different interpretation of events, you build neural highways that make solution-focused, optimistic thinking more automatic and pessimistic, problem-focused thinking less automatic. Understanding these neurological mechanisms can help you stay motivated during difficult periods of your emotional development. When you struggle to control your reactions, when old patterns seem reinforced, when progress feels slow or non-existent, remember that your brain is literally rewiring at a cellular level. Changes that seem invisible from the inside are creating measurable transformations in your neural architecture. The time it takes to achieve neuroplastic changes varies, depending on the specific technique and consistency of practice, but most people start noticing differences in their emotional reactivity after 2 to 4 weeks of regular practice. Significant structural changes in gray matter usually occur between 8 and 12 weeks. Complete transformation of emotional patterns typically takes 6 months to 2 years of consistent practice. This is both encouraging and instructive. Encouraging because it means lasting change is absolutely possible and supported by science. Instructive because it means there are no shortcuts or easy solutions. Emotional mastery requires the same kind of patience and consistent training as physical fitness or musical skill. But this is what makes it all worthwhile. Once these neural changes are established, they tend to be permanent. Unlike temporary behavioral modifications that require constant effort to maintain, neuroplastic changes create new reference patterns that become the brain's default mode of operation. The person who struggles to control their emotions becomes the person who naturally responds with wisdom and composure. The neuroscience of emotional transformation shows that you are not stuck with the emotional patterns you developed in childhood, nor the reactive tendencies that have characterized your adult life. Your brain is flexible, adaptable, and constantly changing based on how you use it. Every moment of practicing emotional control is an investment in rewiring your neural circuits to achieve greater peace, effectiveness, and life satisfaction. Chapter 8. Mastering emotional control in high-pressure situations. Everything you have learned so far is tested when much is at stake and the pressure is intense. It is one thing to practice emotional control during your morning meditation or when you have a minor disagreement with an employee. It is entirely different when you face a crisis that could destroy your career and your relationship or threaten everything you have worked to build. High-pressure situations reveal who you really are beneath superficial courtesy and social conditioning. They strip away pretenses and expose your true level of emotional mastery. Most people perform worse under pressure because they let the intensity of the situation overwhelm their rational thinking. But elite performers actually improve under pressure because they have specifically trained for these moments. The difference between people who break under pressure and those who thrive under it is not talent, intelligence, or luck. It is preparation, specifically emotional preparation. When you have trained your nervous system to remain calm and your mind to think clearly during intense situations, pressure becomes an advantage rather than a disadvantage. The first key to performance under pressure is understanding that pressure is not external, it is internal. The situation itself is neutral. It only becomes pressurized when your mind interprets it as threatening or overwhelming. Two people can face identical circumstances and have completely different stress responses depending on how they perceive the situation. This means that controlling pressure begins by controlling your narrative about the situation. Instead of telling yourself, "This is terrible, everything is falling apart, I can't handle this," you need to reframe the situation in terms that favor peak performance. This is a challenge, but I have the skills to handle it. This is an opportunity to demonstrate what I am capable of. This is exactly the type of situation I have been training for. Elite athletes, emergency personnel, and special forces operators use this type of reframing to maintain peak performance under extreme pressure. They do not pretend dangerous or difficult situations are not real. They acknowledge the reality of the situation while choosing interpretations that enhance their performance rather than diminish it. The second key to performance under pressure is physiological preparation. The body's stress response system needs to be trained to handle intense activation without being overwhelmed. This is where the concept of stress inoculation becomes crucial. Just as vaccines expose the immune system to small amounts of a pathogen to develop resistance, stress inoculation exposes the nervous system to controlled amounts of stress to develop resilience. Cold exposure is one of the most effective forms of stress inoculation. By deliberately exposing yourself to cold water or air, you activate the same stress response systems that engage in high-pressure situations. But since the exposure is voluntarily chosen, You can practice calm and mental clarity while the body is in a physiological state of stress. The key is not just enduring the cold, but practicing specific emotional control techniques while exposed to it. Breathe slowly and deeply. Relax your muscles. Maintain positive internal dialogue. Keep your mind focused on the present moment rather than anticipating how long the exposure will last. These are exactly the same skills needed in high-pressure situations. High-intensity exercise serves a similar function. By pushing yourself to the limit during training, you train the ability to maintain mental discipline while the body is under extreme stress. The discomfort you feel during intense exercise is similar to what you experience in high-pressure situations. Learning to maintain mental strength during physical challenges directly translates into maintaining mental strength during emotional challenges. The third key to performance under pressure is attention management. Under pressure, your mind tends to scatter in multiple directions simultaneously. You begin thinking about everything that could go wrong, everyone who is watching you, all the consequences of failure. This divided attention prevents peak performance, as maximum performance requires full focus on the task at hand. The solution is to develop what I call laser focus. This is the ability to direct all your mental energy toward the specific actions you need to take right now to handle the situation effectively. Everything else becomes irrelevant background noise that you acknowledge but do not engage with. Developing laser focus requires practice in low-pressure situations. Set a 10-minute timer and choose a single task to fully concentrate on. Every time your mind wanders, bring your attention back to the task. Start with simple tasks like reading a book or solving basic math problems. Then gradually increase complexity and add distractions. In high-pressure situations, use the same technique. Identify the most important action you must take right now and focus completely on it. Do not think about the next 10 steps. Just focus on the immediate next step. Do not think about all the people who depend on you. Just focus on the specific task in front of you. The fourth key to performing under pressure is emotional granularity. Most people experience pressure as a general feeling of stress or anxiety, but stress and anxiety are broad terms that encompass many distinct emotions. The more precisely you can identify what you are actually feeling, the more effectively you can address it. Do you feel anxious about the outcome? Or are you excited about the challenge? Do you feel overwhelmed by the complexity of the situation or focused on the clarity of what must be done? Are you afraid of failure or motivated to succeed? Physiological sensations may be similar, but the meanings and appropriate responses are very different. Practice emotional labeling during calm periods so you can access this skill during intense moments. Keep an emotion journal in which you identify the specific emotions you experience throughout the day. Learn the difference between frustration and disappointment, between anxiety and excitement, between anger and hurt. The more nuanced your emotional vocabulary, the more accurately you can regulate your emotional state. The fifth key to performing under pressure is process focus versus outcome focus. Under pressure, most people obsess over results. They constantly think about whether they will succeed or fail, what others will think, and the consequences. This focus on the outcome creates additional pressure and diverts attention from the actions that truly determine the result. High performers focus on the process rather than the results. They concentrate on executing the specific skills and strategies they have trained, trusting that good processes will lead to good outcomes. A surgeon focuses on making precise incisions, not whether the patient will survive. A pilot focuses on following proper procedures, not whether the plane will crash. A negotiator focuses on asking good questions and listening carefully, not whether they will close the deal. This process focus is liberating because it allows you to control what you can actually control. You cannot directly control outcomes, which always depend in part on factors beyond your control. But you can control your effort, attention, technique, and attitude. By focusing on these controllable factors, pressure decreases and performance improves. The sixth key to high-pressure performance is contingency planning. One reason high-pressure situations feel overwhelming is that they often involve unexpected events for which we are unprepared. When you do not know how you will respond if things go wrong, the uncertainty itself becomes an additional source of pressure. Elite professionals reduce this uncertainty by mentally reviewing multiple scenarios in advance and developing specific plans for each possibility. They ask themselves, what will I do if this happens? What if that occurs? How will I respond if everything goes wrong? This mental rehearsal builds confidence and reduces cognitive load during real high-pressure situations. However, contingency planning must be balanced with focus on the present moment. It is important to have plans prepared for different scenarios, but once in a situation, you must focus on executing your current plan instead of constantly doubting and revising. The time to plan is before the high-pressure situation, not during it. The final key to high-pressure performance is recovery and reflection. High-pressure situations significantly affect your mental and emotional resources, and even if you handle them well, if you do not deliberately recover and process the experience, you will gradually become more vulnerable to pressure instead of more resilient after any high-pressure event. Take time to decompress deliberately. Use breathing exercises, physical movement, or relaxation techniques to help your nervous system return to baseline. Avoid making major decisions or engaging in additional stressful activities until you have had time to recover. Then, once recovered, reflect on the experience with curiosity rather than judgment. What worked well, and what could you improve? What did you learn about yourself and your abilities? How can you apply these lessons to future high-pressure situations? This reflective process helps consolidate learning and builds confidence to handle similar situations in the future. Remember, pressure is a privilege. It means you are in situations that matter, facing challenges that deserve your best effort. Most people spend their lives avoiding pressure and therefore never discover what they are truly capable of. When you learn to thrive under pressure, you gain access to opportunities and achievements impossible for those who collapse when much is at stake. Chapter 9. Transforming negative emotions into fuel for success. Most people treat negative emotions as toxic waste that must be eliminated as quickly as possible. They try to suppress anger, avoid sadness, eliminate fear, and escape frustration. This approach is not only ineffective but counterproductive. Negative emotions contain enormous amounts of energy and information that, if properly harnessed, can be transformed into fuel for achieving your most ambitious goals. The problem is not that you experience negative emotions. The problem is that you do not know how to turn them into something useful. You let them drain your energy instead of directing it toward productive action. You let them cloud your judgment instead of using them to clarify your priorities. You let them paralyze you instead of using them to drive innovative performance. Every negative emotion you experience is your psyche communicating important information about your situation, your values, and your goals. Anger tells you that something important to you is being threatened or violated. Fear tells you that you face uncertainty or potential loss. Sadness tells you that you have lost something valuable or meaningful. Frustration indicates that something is blocking you from what you want. Instead of trying to make these emotions disappear, you need to learn to decode their messages and channel their energy productively. This is the difference between emotional suppression that weakens you and emotional alchemy that strengthens you. Let us start with anger, perhaps the most misunderstood and mismanaged emotion. Most people either explode with anger, damaging relationships and generating regret, or they suppress it, letting it build until it erupts or turns into resentment and bitterness. Both approaches waste the enormous energy contained in anger. Anger is your psyche's emergency response to perceived injustice or threat. It floods your system with energy and focus to help you confront any attack on yourself or what you value. This energy can be destructive when directed at others through blame, criticism, or aggression, but can be incredibly productive when directed towards solving problems, overcoming obstacles, and generating positive change. The key to transforming anger is separating the energy from the target. Instead of directing your anger at the person or situation that triggered it, redirect that energy toward constructive action. Use the concentration and determination provided by anger to work harder toward your goals, solve problems more aggressively, and overcome obstacles that would normally stop you. Some of the greatest achievements in human history have been driven by transformed anger. Entrepreneurs who built billion-dollar companies because they were angry about unsolved problems. Athletes who dominated their sports because they were angry at being underestimated. Activists who changed the world because they were angry at injustice. The emotion that destroys most people became the driving force behind extraordinary success. Fear is another emotion most people handle completely incorrectly. They try to eliminate fear, or they allow fear to paralyze and immobilize them. But fear contains crucial information about what matters most to you. You only feel fear about losing things that are valuable or failing at things that are important. Fear is your internal guidance system, signaling what you need to protect or pursue. The goal is not to eliminate fear, but to dance with it. Acknowledge fear, extract the information it provides, and act despite it. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act intelligently in the face of it. Each time you act courageously, you build confidence and reduce the control fear has over your life. Fear also serves as an excellent filter for opportunities and goals. If something does not scare you even a little, it is probably not challenging enough to be worth pursuing. The goals that scare you are often those with the greatest potential for growth and achievement. Rather than avoiding them, let fear guide you toward them. Sadness and disappointment are emotions most people try to avoid at all costs, but they contain some of the most valuable information you will ever receive. Sadness tells you what you truly value by showing you what hurts to lose. Disappointment tells you what you truly desire by showing you what hurts to not achieve. Most people experience sadness and disappointment as pure loss, but they are actually enlightening experiences. They help you distinguish between what you think you want and what you truly want, between what others expect you to value and what you genuinely value. This clarity is invaluable for making better decisions about how to invest your time, energy, and resources. Sadness also fosters empathy and connection with others who have experienced similar losses. Many of the most meaningful relationships and impactful contributions come from shared experiences of sadness and recovery. Instead of seeing sadness as a weakness, recognize it as a sign of your capacity to love deeply and care authentically. Frustration is perhaps the most common negative emotion in modern life, and also the most wasted. It arises when there is a gap between where you are and where you want to be, between what is happening and what you want to happen. Most people allow frustration to drain their energy through complaining, blaming, or giving up, but frustration is actually a signal that you deeply care about improving and progressing. The energy of frustration can be transformed into determination and persistence. Instead of being frustrated by obstacles, be fascinated by them. Instead of being frustrated by setbacks, commit more to finding solutions. Instead of being frustrated by others' limitations, focus more on developing your own capabilities. Frustration is also an excellent diagnostic tool for identifying areas where you need to develop new skills or strategies. If you're constantly frustrated by the same situations, it is often because you're trying to solve new problems with old approaches. Frustration tells you it is time to enhance your abilities. Anxiety and worry are future-oriented emotions that most people experience as genuine torture. But anxiety contains important information for planning for potential challenges you must prepare for. Rather than trying to eliminate anxiety, use it as a strategic planning tool. What specifically worries you? What should you do to address those concerns? How can you prepare for the challenges you anticipate? The key is to transform vague anxiety into specific action plans. Most anxiety arises from unclear threats and uncertain deadlines. When you force yourself to be specific about what worries you and what you can do about it, anxiety often transforms into useful preparation. Worry becomes productive when it leads to preparation and counterproductive when it leads to rumination. The difference lies in action. Productive worry asks, what can I do to prepare for this possible problem? Counterproductive worry asks, what if this terrible situation keeps happening over and over without generating useful responses? Guilt and shame are perhaps the most painful emotions, but they also contain important information about your values and integrity. Guilt alerts you when your actions are not aligned with your values. Shame alerts you when your behavior is not aligned with your identity. Both emotions are painful precisely because they indicate a lack of coherence between who you are and who you want to be. Instead of trying to escape guilt and shame, use them as signals to correct your course. What do these emotions tell you about what you value? What changes do you need to make to better align your actions with your values? How can you use this information to be more consistent with your higher self? The key to transforming any negative emotion is to approach it with curiosity rather than resistance. Instead of asking yourself how you can make this feeling disappear, ask what it is telling you. How can you use this energy productively? What can you do to honor the message while moving closer to your goals? This transformation requires practice and patience. Your habitual response to negative emotions has been reinforced over many years and will not change overnight. But each time you choose to transform, rather than suppress or be carried away by a negative emotion, you build neural pathways that automate this process. The goal is not to become someone who never experiences negative emotions. The goal is to turn those emotions into fuel for positive action quickly and effectively. When you master this skill, you will find that setbacks become stepping stones, obstacles become opportunities, and the very experiences that destroy most people become the ones that strengthen you. Chapter 10. Building unshakable confidence through emotional mastery. Confidence is not what most people believe. It is not the absence of doubt or fear. It is not the belief that you will never fail or face challenges. It is not the feeling of being better than others, nor that success is guaranteed. True confidence is something much deeper and more powerful than any of these superficial definitions. True confidence is the unwavering certainty that you can face any challenge life presents. It is the calm assurance that you have the emotional tools, mental frameworks, and internal resources to overcome any difficulty, setback, or uncertainty you encounter. It is not about never falling. It is about knowing you can always rise again. This type of confidence is built through a process, repeatedly facing difficult situations and proving to yourself that you can handle them with grace and effectiveness. Confidence cannot be thought into existence. It cannot be claimed into existence. It cannot be faked into existence. It can only be built through evidence, and evidence comes from action. But this is where most people misunderstand how to build confidence. They believe they must wait to feel secure before acting. They believe confidence is a prerequisite for facing challenges, not the result of facing them. This backward mindset keeps them trapped in cycles of insecurity and limitation because they wait for a feeling that can only arise by doing precisely what they fear. The process of developing confidence works in reverse. You act despite uncertainty or fear. You handle the situation better than expected. You extract lessons and grow stronger. Your brain updates its assessment of your abilities. Your confidence increases. Then you are ready to face slightly greater challenges, and the cycle continues. This is why emotional mastery is the foundation of unshakable confidence. When you know you can control your reactions no matter what happens. When you know you can remain calm under pressure. When you know you can think clearly even when emotions are intense. You develop an inner certainty that makes you nearly unbeatable. Most people's confidence is based on external factors beyond their control. They feel secure when things go well, when others approve, when they succeed by conventional standards. But this kind of confidence is fragile because it depends on circumstances that can change at any moment. True confidence is based on internal factors you can control. The first pillar of unshakable confidence is emotional self-sufficiency. It is knowing that your emotional state does not depend on the behavior of others, external circumstances, or unpredictable events. You know you can generate the emotional states you need through your own thoughts, actions, and practices. You do not need others to make you feel good about yourself, and you do not allow the negativity of others to depress you. Emotional self-sufficiency is built through consistent practice of the emotional regulation techniques you have learned. Each time you successfully manage your emotional state during a difficult situation, you prove to yourself that you have this ability. Each time you choose your response instead of reacting automatically, you build evidence that you are in control of your inner experience. This does not mean disconnecting emotionally from others or not caring about relationships. It means engaging with others from a position of strength rather than need. You contribute to relationships instead of weakening them. You can genuinely support others because you are not constantly seeking support for yourself. The second pillar of unshakable confidence is the development of competence. Confidence without competence is only an illusion. You need to be truly capable in the areas that matter. You need to develop real skills, real knowledge, and real abilities that generate genuine value in the world. But developing competence is not just about technical skills. It is about developing meta skills that make you effective in any domain. Problem solving is perhaps the most important meta skill for building confidence. When you know you can resolve issues, when you have a systematic approach to analyze complex challenges and find solutions, you become much more willing to face difficult situations. Unknown problems do not intimidate you because you trust your capacity to learn and adapt. Communication is another crucial meta skill. When you can express ideas clearly, listen effectively, and navigate difficult conversations skillfully, you become much more confident in social and professional situations. You do not fear conflict because you know how to handle it constructively. You are not intimidated by authority because you can communicate respectfully and maintain your dignity. Learning agility is the meta skill that enables all others. It is your ability to quickly acquire new knowledge and skills as situations require. When you know you can learn whatever you need, you're not limited by your current knowledge base. You feel confident facing challenges that require skills you do not yet possess because you trust your ability to develop them. The third pillar of unshakable confidence is alignment with integrity. This is the consistency between your values, your words, and your actions. When these three elements are aligned, you develop an inner strength that makes you nearly unshakable because you know you live authentically. When they're not aligned, you feel weak and insecure because you're uncertain about who you really are and what you represent. Most people compromise their integrity gradually through small decisions that seem insignificant at the moment. They tell small lies to avoid discomfort. They make commitments they do not intend to keep. They act in ways that contradict the values they declare. Each compromise weakens their inner foundation and erodes their confidence. Developing aligned integrity requires relentless honesty about what you truly value versus what you think you should value. It requires that your word means something by only taking commitments you intend to fulfill. It requires the courage to act according to your values, even when it is difficult or costly. When your integrity is intact, you develop what I call an unshakable presence. People can perceive that you are authentic, that you are not trying to be someone you are not, that you are comfortable with who you are. This presence is magnetic and creates opportunities unavailable to those who constantly try to impress others or fit in. The fourth pillar of unshakable confidence is developing resilience. This is your history of recovering from setbacks, learning from failures, and bouncing back from difficult experiences. Each time you face adversity and emerge stronger than before, you build evidence that challenges do not break you. They strengthen you. Most people try to avoid adversity, but this actually weakens their confidence because they never prove to themselves that they can handle difficult situations. They remain fragile and fearful because they have no evidence of their own resilience. Developing unshakable confidence requires deliberately seeking challenges that test your limits and force you to grow. This does not mean being reckless or seeking unnecessary suffering. It means choosing growth over comfort, challenge over safety, and expansion over protection. It means taking on projects that scare you, having conversations you have been avoiding, and pursuing goals that require you to become more than you currently are. The key is approaching these challenges with the right mindset. You're not trying to prove that you're already perfect. You're trying to prove that you can learn and grow. You're not trying to never fail. You're trying to prove that you can recover from failure. You're not trying to avoid all mistakes. You're trying to prove that you can learn from mistakes and use them to improve. The fifth pillar of unshakable confidence is future orientation. This is your ability to make decisions based on who you are becoming rather than who you are now. It is understanding that your current limitations are temporary and that your potential for growth is virtually unlimited. When you operate from this perspective, present challenges become stepping stones rather than obstacles. Most people are trapped in their past experiences and current limitations. They think, I am not good at public speaking, I am not a leader, or I do not have enough confidence for this opportunity. This fixed mindset keeps them stuck because they base decisions on current capabilities rather than future potential. Developing future orientation requires regularly visualizing the person you are becoming and making decisions from that future identity. Ask yourself, what would a confident version of me do in this situation? Then do it. Even if you do not feel ready, act as if you are already the person you want to become, and over time, you will become that person. The sixth pillar of unshakable confidence is contribution focus. This is the shift from asking, what can I get, to asking, what can I give? When you focus on how you can add value, solve problems, and help others succeed, you naturally become less self-conscious and more confident. You do not worry about being judged because you focus on being helpful. Most confidence problems come from excessive self-focus. When you constantly worry about your appearance, what others think, and whether you measure up, you create anxiety and self-doubt. But when you shift your focus to how you can contribute, serve, and add value, these egocentric concerns naturally fade into the background. This does not mean neglecting your own needs or becoming a doormat. It means approaching situations with a service mindset rather than a self-protection mindset. Instead of thinking, I hope I do not embarrass myself, think about how I can make this meeting productive. Instead of thinking, I hope they like me, think about how I can genuinely be helpful to this person. The final element of building unshakable confidence through emotional mastery is developing what I call evidence awareness. This is the practice of consciously recognizing and remembering your successes, growth, and progress rather than focusing solely on failures and limitations. Most people have a negativity bias that causes them to remember failures more intensely than successes, downplay their achievements, and magnify their mistakes. This mental pattern systematically undermines confidence by creating a distorted view of their actual trajectory. Counter this bias by keeping a success journal where you record daily wins, no matter how small. Document challenges you have overcome, skills you have developed, and positive feedback you have received. Review this evidence regularly to maintain an accurate picture of your abilities and progress. Developing unshakable confidence is not about being arrogant or believing you are better than others. It is about developing an accurate assessment of your abilities and a realistic optimism about your potential for continued growth. It is about knowing you can face anything that comes your way, not because nothing bad will happen, but because you have the tools to handle whatever occurs. By combining emotional mastery with competence development, alignment with integrity, resilience building, future orientation, contribution focus, and evidence awareness, you create a foundation of confidence unaffected by external circumstances. You become the kind of person who remains calm in chaos, sees opportunities in adversity, and inspires others through your unshakable presence and authentic strength. Chapter 11. The Art of Strategic Non-Reaction in Relationships. Relationships are where emotional control is most important and where most people fail the most spectacularly. You can master your emotions in any other area of life, but if you lose control with the people closest to you, you will sabotage the relationships that matter most. Those who care about you see you at your worst when you are tired, stressed, and emotionally drained. This is when your true level of emotional mastery is revealed. Most conflicts in relationships are not about the superficial topic being discussed. They are about underlying emotional patterns, unmet needs, and unconscious triggers that both people react to without realizing. When you learn to avoid emotional reactions during relationship conflicts, you can address the real issues instead of getting caught in endless cycles of blame, defensiveness, and escalation. The first principle of emotional mastery in relationships is understanding that every interaction is a choice between connection and control. When you're emotionally reactive, you're choosing control. You're trying to make the other person wrong to prove your point, to defend your position. But when you choose non-reaction, you are choosing connection. You prioritize the relationship over being right. This does not mean becoming a doormat or accepting unacceptable behavior. It means responding to difficult situations in a way that preserves dignity and creates possibilities for resolution rather than simply venting emotionally. It means being strong enough to stay calm when the other person loses control. The second principle is taking responsibility for your 50% in every interaction. You cannot control the words, actions, or emotional state of the other person, but you have complete control over your response to their words, actions, and emotional state. When you focus on controlling your 50% rather than trying to control the other 50%, you become incredibly powerful in relationships. Most people waste energy trying to change, fix, or control their partner, children, or friends. This is exhausting and ineffective because you're trying to control things beyond your control. When you redirect that energy toward managing your own responses, you become a calming and stabilizing force that truly influences others to be their best selves. The third principle is learning to de-escalate conflicts rather than intensify them. When someone is emotionally activated, your natural tendency might be to match their energy. If they raise their voice, you raise yours. If they become critical, you become defensive. If they withdraw, you push harder. This unconscious mimicry amplifies the conflict instead of resolving it. Strategic non-reaction involves consciously choosing to lower the emotional intensity of interactions. Speak more quietly when they speak loudly. Show more curiosity when they become critical. Give space when they feel overwhelmed. This counterintuitive approach often breaks the negative pattern and creates space for real communication. The fourth principle is separating the person from their behavior. When someone you care about does something hurtful or frustrating, your emotional reaction tends to generalize the behavior. Instead of thinking they did something inconsiderate, you think they are an inconsiderate person. This generalization makes it much harder to maintain emotional balance and find constructive solutions. Practice seeing difficult behavior as information about the person's current state rather than evidence of their permanent character. They may be stressed, tired, overwhelmed, or dealing with something you do not know about. This does not justify bad behavior. but it helps you respond wisely rather than react emotionally. The fifth principle is mastering the pause. In tense moments, there is enormous pressure to respond immediately. Silence feels uncomfortable, and you feel compelled to defend yourself, explain, or counterattack immediately. But the pause is where your power lies. It is where you can choose your response rather than be carried away by impulses. Practice saying, "I need a moment to think," or "let me consider what you're saying," or simply take 3 deep breaths before responding. These small pauses can completely change the course of a conversation and often prevent conflicts that would have taken days or weeks to resolve. The most advanced relational skill is emotional fluidity. This is the ability to redirect another person's emotional energy rather than absorb it or fight against it. When someone is angry with you, instead of becoming defensive or responding with anger, acknowledge their feelings and redirect the conversation toward solutions. When someone criticizes you, instead of justifying your actions, thank them for their perspective and ask for suggestions. This approach requires enormous emotional strength because it goes against every defensive instinct when you feel attacked, but it is incredibly effective because it removes energy from the conflict and redirects the interaction toward cooperation instead of competition. Remember, you cannot control whether other people choose to be emotionally reactive, but you can control whether you join them in that reactivity. When you consistently choose non-reaction in relationships, you become a source of stability and peace that others rely on. You become the person others turn to in difficult moments because they know you will not contribute to chaos. Chapter 12: Emotional Leadership and Influence. Leadership is fundamentally based on emotional influence. Your ability to inspire, motivate, and guide others depends far more on your emotional mastery than on your technical skills or the authority of your position. People follow leaders who make them feel safe, capable, and valued. They resist leaders who generate anxiety, frustration, or insecurity, regardless of their intelligence or experience. The most powerful form of leadership is emotional modeling. People learn more from what you do than from what you say, especially when it comes to emotional responses. When you remain calm under pressure, others feel permission to remain calm. When you respond to setbacks with resilience and problem solving, others learn to do the same. When you treat difficulties as challenges instead of catastrophes, you teach others to adopt that perspective. This means that every emotional decision you make as a leader is not only about you. It is about the emotional culture you're creating for everyone around you. Your team, your family, your organization will tend to mirror your emotional patterns. If you are reactive, they will become reactive. If you're anxious, they will become anxious. If you remain calm and solution-focused, they will adopt those qualities. The first skill of emotional leadership is creating psychological safety. This is the sense that people can express ideas, ask questions, admit mistakes, and show vulnerability without fear of judgment, punishment, or rejection. Psychological safety is created through your emotional responses to other people's imperfections and uncertainties. When someone makes a mistake, your first response sets the tone. If you react with anger, blame, or criticism, you teach everyone to hide their mistakes and avoid taking risks. If you respond with curiosity about what can be learned and focus on preventing similar mistakes in the future, you create an environment where people feel safe to be honest and innovative. The second skill is managing emotional contagion. Emotions are literally contagious through mirror neuron activity and social conditioning. When you enter a room, your emotional state influences the emotional state of others, often unconsciously. This gives you enormous power to influence the energy and productivity of any group. Before important interactions, consciously choose the emotional state you want to transmit. If you want the meeting to be productive and collaborative, embody those qualities. If you want your team to feel confident about a challenging project, Make sure you genuinely feel and express confidence. If you want your family to feel calm and connected, transmit that energy in your interactions. The third skill is strategic emotional authenticity. This does not mean expressing every emotion without filter. It means being genuine about your emotional state and choosing expressions that fit the situation and the people involved. You can genuinely care about a problem and express that concern in ways that motivate rather than discourage. Sometimes authenticity means sharing your vulnerabilities and uncertainties to create connection and trust. Other times, it means projecting strength and confidence to help others feel secure. The key is matching your emotional expression to what the situation requires, while staying true to your core values and character. The fourth skill is conflict transformation. Most people avoid conflict or handle it poorly, but leaders must be able to manage disagreements and tensions in ways that strengthen relationships instead of damaging them. This requires seeing conflict as information about different perspectives and unmet needs, rather than as personal attacks or character flaws. When conflict arises, your emotional response determines whether it becomes destructive or constructive. If you remain calm, curious, and focused on understanding different viewpoints, you can often transform conflicts into innovative conversations that lead to better solutions and stronger relationships. The fifth skill is empathetic leadership without emotional absorption. You need to be able to understand and connect with the emotional experiences of others without taking their emotional states on as your own. This means you can be compassionate with someone who is anxious without becoming anxious yourself. You can support someone who is struggling without being pulled into their problems. This balance requires strong emotional boundaries and a clear sense of your own emotional identity. You care deeply about others, but you do not lose yourself in their emotional experiences. You provide stability and support precisely because you maintain your own emotional center. The ultimate goal of emotional leadership is to create what I call an upward emotional spiral. This happens when your emotional mastery inspires others to develop theirs, creating a positive feedback loop that elevates performance and well-being for everyone. Instead of managing other people's emotions, you are developing their capacity to manage their own. This happens when you consistently model emotional intelligence, provide tools and frameworks for emotional development, celebrate emotional growth in others, and create environments where emotional mastery is valued and rewarded. Over time, you build teams, families, and organizations that are emotionally resilient, highly productive, and deeply fulfilling. Chapter 13. Creating your personal emotional operating system. Everything you have learned means nothing unless you create a systematic approach to implementing it in your daily life. Most people consume information about emotional control, but never develop the consistent practices that turn knowledge into automatic behavior. They understand the concepts intellectually, but continue operating with old emotional patterns because they have not created new systems to replace them. Your emotional operating system is the set of daily practices, environmental designs, and response protocols that make emotional mastery your default mode, rather than something you must consciously remember to do. Just as a computer operating system runs in the background and manages all basic functions automatically, your emotional operating system should manage your emotional responses automatically. The first component is your daily emotional fitness routine. Just as physical fitness requires regular exercise, emotional fitness requires regular practice. This does not have to be complicated or time-consuming, but must be consistent. 5 to 10 minutes of focused emotional training every day will generate more transformation than hours of sporadic effort. Your routine should include some form of mindfulness or meditation practice to strengthen awareness of emotional states as they arise. It should include breathing exercises to train your nervous system to respond to stress with calm rather than reactivity. It should include some form of cognitive work, such as journaling or reflection, to identify patterns and plan improvements. The second component is environmental design for emotional success. Your physical and social environment has an enormous impact on your emotional state, often without your awareness. If you are constantly exposed to negative news, chaotic spaces, or emotionally reactive people, it will be much harder to maintain emotional balance, regardless of your skills and intentions. Analyze your environment carefully. What information do you consume through media, social platforms, books, and conversations? What does your physical space communicate about calm and order versus chaos and stress? Who do you spend time with, and how do they influence your emotional state? Make changes that support the emotional state you want to maintain. The third component is trigger identification and response planning. You need to become deeply familiar with your personal emotional triggers and have specific strategies prepared for each one. This is not about avoiding triggers, which is impossible and counterproductive, but about having planned responses that align with your values and goals. Keep a trigger journal for 2 weeks. Each time you have an emotional reaction, write down what triggered it, what you felt, how you responded, and what you wish you had done differently. Look for patterns in the types of situations, people, and circumstances that tend to activate you. Then develop specific response strategies for each trigger category. The fourth component is recovery protocols. You need systematic methods to restore your emotional balance after difficult situations or periods of high stress. Without effective recovery protocols, emotional challenges accumulate and eventually overwhelm your ability to maintain control. Your recovery toolkit should include immediate techniques you can use in the moment, short-term practices you can implement within hours of a stressful event, and long-term recovery practices to restore yourself after prolonged periods of high stress or emotional challenge. Have these lists ready before you need them, not after. The fifth component is accountability and measurement systems. You need ways to monitor your progress, identify areas for improvement, and maintain motivation during difficult periods. This can be as simple as a daily rating of your emotional control on a scale from 1 to 10, or as sophisticated as keeping detailed records of specific situations and responses. The key is to have objective measures of progress instead of relying on feelings, which can be unreliable indicators of real improvement. You may feel like you're not progressing even when you are actually improving significantly, or you may feel like you're doing well when you are actually regressing. The sixth component is continuous learning and adaptation. Your emotional operating system must evolve as you grow and your life circumstances change. What works at 20 may not work at 40. What works when you're single may not work when you're married and have children. What works during stable periods may not work during major life transitions. Schedule periodic reviews of your emotional operating system. What is working well? What needs adjustment? What new challenges are you facing that require new strategies? What feedback do you receive from others about your emotional patterns? Use this information to continuously refine and improve your approach. The final component is integration with your broader life systems. Your emotional operating system cannot be separated from your other life management systems. It must integrate with your goal-setting process, your time management approach, your relationship strategies, and your professional development plans. This means incorporating emotional considerations into every important decision you make. Before taking on new responsibilities, consider the emotional demands they will create. Before entering new relationships, consider how they will affect your emotional well-being. Before pursuing new goals, consider what emotional skills you will need to develop to achieve them successfully. Remember, the goal is not to create a perfect system that never needs adjustment. The goal is to create a strong system that makes emotional mastery easier and more automatic, while remaining flexible enough to adapt to changing circumstances. Your emotional operating system should serve you, not limit you. Chapter 14: Advanced Applications in High-Stakes Environments. The ultimate test of your emotional mastery occurs in high-stakes environments, where the consequences of losing control are severe and immediate. In these situations, a career can be destroyed by a single emotional outburst. Relationships can be permanently damaged by one moment of reaction, And multi-million-dollar opportunities can be lost because someone could not control their anxiety or anger. High-stakes environments reveal the difference between intellectual understanding of emotional control and true embodied mastery. When everything is on the line, when you are pushed beyond your comfort zone, when pressure is intense and the stakes are high, your true level of emotional development becomes visible. The first category of high-stakes environments is crisis management. When something goes very wrong, when there is immediate danger or significant loss, when people look to you for leadership and stability, your emotional response sets the tone for everyone else's response. Panic is contagious, but calm competence is contagious as well. In crisis situations, the ability to think clearly while others lose their composure becomes a superpower. While everyone else is hijacked by the amygdala, you remain connected to your prefrontal cortex, while others react to the emotional intensity of the situation. You focus on the practical steps necessary to address the real problems. This requires prior preparation. You cannot develop emotional management skills during a crisis. You develop them during periods of calm through visualization, stress inoculation, training, and practice with smaller challenges. By the time a real crisis arrives, your emotional control responses must be automatic. The second category is negotiations and confrontations under high pressure. Whether you're negotiating a business deal, managing a workplace conflict, or dealing with aggressive behavior from others, your ability to remain emotionally centered gives you enormous strategic advantages. People reveal their true intentions and limitations when they are emotionally activated, but they can only use your emotional reactions against you if you have them. The key to mastering emotional negotiations is separating your ego from the outcome. When you become emotionally invested in being right, getting your way, or proving your point, you become predictable and manipulable. When you can remain detached from any specific outcome while staying committed to your core interests, you become incredibly difficult to manipulate or intimidate. This does not mean you do not care about the outcome. It means you care more about the process than the result. More about maintaining your integrity than winning the negotiation. More about finding solutions that work for everyone than getting everything you want. The third category is performance under scrutiny. When you present to important audiences, are evaluated for promotions, compete at a high level, or perform under observation and judgment, emotional control becomes crucial for accessing your full capabilities. Performance anxiety, imposter syndrome, and fear of judgment can completely undermine your skills and preparation. The solution is to shift your focus from how you are perceived to how you are serving others. Instead of thinking about whether you look confident, think about how you can add value to your audience. Instead of worrying about making mistakes, focus on executing the process you have prepared. Instead of trying to impress others, focus on being genuinely useful. The fourth category is dealing with extremely difficult people. In every field, there are manipulative, aggressive, unreasonable, or emotionally volatile individuals. Your ability to remain calm while interacting with these people determines whether they drain your energy and compromise your effectiveness, or whether you can work with them productively despite their limitations. The key is not taking their behavior personally. Difficult people are usually difficult with everyone, not just with you. Their emotional reactions are about their internal state, not about you specifically. When you can see their behavior as information about their level of stress, insecurity, or coping skills, rather than as personal attacks, you can respond strategically instead of reactively. The fifth category is managing your own successes and failures. Both extreme success and extreme failure can trigger strong emotional responses that lead to poor decisions. Success can lead to arrogance, complacency, or reckless risk-taking. Failure can lead to shame, despair, or the urge to give up completely. Emotional mastery means maintaining perspective and emotional balance regardless of external outcomes. Success is information about what worked, not evidence that you are permanently superior. Failure is information about what did not work, not evidence that you are permanently inadequate. Both are temporary conditions that require appropriate responses rather than emotional reactions. The highest risk environment is your own mind during moments of extreme challenge, uncertainty, or change, when everything you relied on seems to be falling apart. When the future feels completely uncertain, when you face losses or changes that challenge your identity and assumptions about how life works. Your relationship with your own thoughts and emotions becomes the most important factor in your ability to navigate the situation successfully. This is where all your emotional mastery training pays off. When external circumstances are chaotic, you become your own source of stability. When others panic about uncertainty, you feel comfortable with uncertainty. When everyone else feels overwhelmed by the magnitude of the challenge, you break it down into manageable steps and take them one at a time. The goal is not to become someone who never feels the emotional impact of high-risk situations. The goal is to become someone who can feel that impact fully while choosing responses that serve your long-term interests and values, rather than simply relieving immediate emotional pressure. Chapter 15. The compound effect of emotional mastery. Most people drastically underestimate the long-term impact of emotional control because they only see the immediate effects of individual emotional decisions. They see that staying calm during an argument prevented a fight, that controlling anxiety during a presentation led to better performance, or that not reacting to criticism preserved a relationship. These immediate benefits are significant, but they are nothing compared to the compound effects that accumulate over months, years, and decades. Emotional mastery works like compound interest. Each individual decision to respond instead of react seems small in the moment, but these decisions accumulate exponentially over time. Each time you choose emotional control, you're not only improving that particular situation, you're strengthening the neural pathways that make emotional control easier in all future situations. You're building a reputation for reliability and wisdom that creates opportunities. You are developing internal resources that accumulate and multiply. The first compound effect is relational trust. Every time you remain calm when others expect you to lose control. Every time you respond with wisdom when others react. Every time you choose connection instead of being right, you deposit value into the trust accounts of your relationships. Over time, these deposits create deep reserves of trust that become incredibly valuable during difficult periods. People know they can rely on you when things get hard. They seek your perspective when making challenging decisions. They want you on their team during high-pressure projects. They trust you with their vulnerabilities and most important concerns. This level of trust opens doors that remain closed to emotionally unpredictable people. The second compound effect is reputation and influence. Your emotional patterns become part of your personal brand, often more important than your technical skills or achievements. People remember how you made them feel far more than what you accomplished. When you consistently demonstrate emotional mastery, you earn a reputation as someone who can be trusted with important responsibilities and challenging situations. This reputation creates a positive feedback loop. You receive opportunities that require emotional maturity. Handling them successfully strengthens your skills and confidence. Your improved capabilities lead to even greater opportunities. Over time, you become known as someone who performs well under pressure, can be relied upon during crises, and brings stability to chaotic situations. The third compound effect is decision-making quality. When you're not driven by emotional reactions, you make consistently better decisions in all areas of your life. You choose relationships based on compatibility and shared values rather than intense chemistry that fades quickly. You make career decisions based on long-term growth potential rather than immediate gratification or fear-based security. You invest money based on rational analysis rather than greed or fear. You choose how to invest your time according to your priorities and goals rather than what feels urgent in the moment. You manage conflicts based on what will strengthen relationships rather than what will make you feel better immediately. These better decisions combine over time to produce significantly better life outcomes. The fourth compound effect is stress, resilience, and health benefits. Chronic emotional reactivity generates chronic stress, which over time has devastating effects on physical and mental health. Elevated cortisol levels damage the immune system, impair cognitive function, accelerate aging, and increase the risk of nearly every serious disease. Chronic stress literally shortens lifespan. When you master emotional control, you dramatically reduce your stress levels and improve your health. You sleep better, think more clearly, have more energy, and maintain better physical health. These health benefits compound over decades, potentially adding years to your life and significantly improving its quality. The fifth compound effect is accelerated learning. When you're not constantly dealing with emotional drama and reactivity, you free up enormous amounts of mental and emotional energy that you can redirect toward growth and learning. Instead of spending your energy managing the consequences of emotional reactions, you can invest it in developing new skills, pursuing meaningful goals, and expanding your capabilities. Emotional mastery also makes you a better learner by improving your ability to receive feedback, manage criticism, and learn from failure. When you're not defensive or reactive, you can extract lessons from challenging experiences instead of being traumatized by them. This accelerated learning creates competitive advantages that compound over time. The sixth compound effect is opportunity creation. When you have emotional mastery, you become the kind of person that other high-performing people want to work with. You receive invitations to join important projects, teams, and organizations. You are trusted with confidential information and critical responsibilities. You gain access to networks and relationships that create opportunities for advancement and achievement. These opportunities often lead to more opportunities in an upward spiral of growth and success. Each success strengthens your confidence and capabilities, preparing you for even greater challenges and opportunities. Over time, you access levels of achievement and influence that once seemed impossible when you were still trapped in emotional reactivity. The seventh compound effect is inner peace and life satisfaction. Perhaps most importantly, emotional mastery creates a deep sense of inner peace and life satisfaction that comes from knowing you live according to your values and respond to life with wisdom rather than fear. You develop an inner stability that does not depend on external circumstances. This inner peace is not the absence of challenges or difficulties. It is the presence of confidence that you can handle whatever life brings. You know that external circumstances are temporary, but your ability to respond with wisdom and grace is permanent. This creates a quality of life that is available regardless of your circumstances. The ultimate compound effect of emotional mastery is becoming anti-fragile. This means you do not merely survive challenges and setbacks. You become stronger because of them. Every difficult situation becomes an opportunity to practice and strengthen your emotional skills. Every person who tries to manipulate or provoke you becomes unintentional training for greater mastery. When you reach this level of emotional development, you become nearly unbreakable. Not because nothing difficult ever happens to you, but because you have unshakable confidence in your ability to handle anything that does. You become a source of strength and stability for others. A person who improves every situation simply by being present and emotionally centered. This is not only about personal success or achievement, although those will certainly follow. It is about becoming the kind of person who contributes to raising the emotional intelligence and maturity of those around you. You become part of the solution to the emotional reactivity and dysfunction that affect much of human interaction. The choice is yours. You can continue living at the mercy of your emotional reactions, allowing temporary feelings to drive permanent decisions, trapped in cycles of regret and limitation. Or you can commit to the consistent and patient practice of emotional mastery and discover the benefits that will transform every aspect of your life. The time to begin is now, not tomorrow when you feel more motivated, not next week when you have more free time, not next year when your life is less stressful. Now, because every day you delay is another day of compound interest lost on the most important investment you can make, the investment in your own emotional development and inner mastery. If this audiobook inspired you, share it with someone you care about. Help them speak with confidence, and do not forget to subscribe for more powerful, life-changing audiobooks like this to keep your energy high, your mind sharp, and your future enriched. Thank you for listening on Audiobook USA.